Big Safe.
Fat Man Scoop, Brooklyn Clan. What's up, y'all? This is Fat Man Scoop. And right now, you watching the sensei, the number one, the king, my dude, Big Brando. He taught me, personally, me, Fat Man Scoop. All you gotta do is keep your mouth closed and your ears open. Listen to the man talk. That's knowledge personified right there. And I wouldn't trust nobody else but my dude, Big Brando. And I said it. Fat Man Scoop, Big Brando. Let's go.
What's happening, everybody? Boy, Big Brando, and today let's talk about getting started with the right equipment. This video is probably going to be short, but it will be packed with the information that you might be looking for. A common question I get all the time is, what equipment should I buy? I'm thinking about getting started in this t-shirt business. What should I spend my money on? What's the best equipment to buy? What do you recommend? If you looked at the description box, I have links to everything that I use and everything that I recommend. If you didn't want to do that and you just wanted to hear me say it, highly suggest getting a 15 by 15 heat press. That's what I currently use. 15 by 15 is a good size heat press to do t-shirts. Doesn't matter if it's a size small t-shirt or a size 5X t-shirt. The size of your press only affects the size of your design. None of my designs go bigger than 13 inches across, so a 15 by 15 press does me perfect. If you're gonna be designing bigger than 15 inches, then obviously you need a bigger press. So if you're just getting started, I highly recommend a 15 by 15. It's a good, versatile size heat press. Now, what heat press should you buy? That is totally up to you. I use the Heat Press Nation Signature Pro Signature Series heat press. One, it's a very, very reliable heat press. Two, it has a slide out drawer. And three, Heat Press Nation backs their machines. So you're buying from a good company, you're buying a quality heat press. If you run into any options, Heat Press Nation makes it very easy to reach out to them and help you troubleshoot the issue or get replacement parts or whatever it is. For myself, I haven't had any issues with any of my presses from Heat Press Nation, and that's why I recommend them. Now, there are other Heat Press Nation models out there. Black Series, M Press, Craft Pro. There's a bunch of different ones out there. Figure out which one you want to do. I really recommend a slide out drawer or a swing away, so that way you're not working directly under the heat. Now, outside of that, this is something that people always ask, and it's, do I really need a vinyl cutter? You have a vinyl cutter, but if I don't plan on doing vinyl, should I still get a vinyl cutter? If you do not plan on doing vinyl, do not buy a vinyl cutter. You could just buy transfers from Supacolor, from Transfer Express, from any transfer company out there. It's 100% up to you on what company you want to use. But if you don't plan on doing vinyl, do not invest in a vinyl cutter. The reason I have my vinyl cutter is, one, I can do custom t-shirts, one-off shirts, stuff like that, but I really use mine just to test out my designs before I order transfers. I say this in a lot of videos, so this is gonna sound very repetitive to the people that have been watching my videos for a while, but I mainly use my Cameo cutter to test out my designs before I order transfers. So I'll cut out one design to make one t-shirt for me to wear, and then I wear it out in public. And then I see if people react to that design. If they say, yeah, that's a cool shirt. Hey, where'd you get that shirt? Hey, what does that shirt mean? Give me a thumbs up or point or whatever it is. That is me proving to myself that my idea and that design on that shirt is worth making transfers of. Now, if I cut out that one design with vinyl and I put it onto my t-shirt and nobody says anything and nobody even gives a shit about the design, guess what? I do not order transfers for that design. That is the data and the research that I need to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this design is not it. Nobody cares about that design. I'm not going to waste no money on transfers for that design. All it cost me was a little bit of vinyl and one t-shirt. So that's what I use my vinyl cutter for. If you do not plan on using vinyl or cutting vinyl or doing anything with vinyl, do not buy a vinyl cutter. Save your money, spend it on blank t-shirts, spend it on transfers, and that's that. Just because I have a vinyl cutter does not mean you need to get one also. So if you just plan on running your business around your heat press and just buying transfers, that's all you need. Just buy the heat press, buy the transfers, buy blank t-shirts, start selling t-shirts. There's a lot of people that get caught up in saying, oh, well, do I need to buy a printer? Do I need to buy a white toner printer? Do I need to buy a DTF printer? Should I buy a sublimation printer? If you do not plan on doing any of those print methods, do not buy or invest in those printers, because it's not needed. If you don't plan on doing sublimation, don't buy a sublimation printer. Just because somebody on YouTube has a sublimation printer does not mean you need one. I own a sublimation printer. I have the Sawgrass SG500, which is the low end Sawgrass printer. It only does like 8.5 by 11, or maybe it does legal size, I can't remember. But I don't use sublimation on everything. My business isn't based around sublimation. I only sublimate on very few things like socks and mugs, and that's about it. So since I do mugs, I also need a mug press. Do you need a mug press? If you don't plan on selling mugs, don't buy a mug press. Simple as that. A lot of people get caught up in seeing what the people on YouTube have in their shop or their workspace, and they're like, oh man, I gotta buy everything that guy has. That's not the case. If your business does not require you to have a mug press because you don't think you're gonna be selling mugs, do not buy a mug press, do not buy a sublimation printer if you do not need it. If that's how you want to structure your business and your statement of work is gonna be based around a sublimation printer and selling tumblers and mugs and cups and glasses and all that stuff, cool. Makes sense for you to buy a sublimation printer and buy a mug press. But if you're not doing it, you don't need it. Save your money and invest in the stuff that you plan on doing. Which brings me to another topic of people saying, hey, I want to be able to do hats, shirts, cups, mugs, socks, underwear, bags. I want to offer everything, and that's cool. Everybody always wants to offer everything, but I highly recommend focusing on one thing first. Understanding the business, understanding your process. You can always upgrade and buy equipment later. Right out the gate, you don't have to buy everything, because what people do is they go out and they spend a bunch of money on the best heat press, best vinyl cutter, best sublimation printer, best mug press, hat press. They have all of this equipment, and then they just sit in their room and look at the equipment. They don't use any of it because it's very overwhelming to learn every piece of equipment and then finding out, all right, how do I sell this? How do I make this? How do I make money to pay off all this equipment? Very, very overwhelming. Start small. Buy a heat press, buy some t-shirts, sell some shirts. Get your feet wet before you invest in the whole factory, because you don't have to be the whole factory. Save your money, save your time, save your patience. Now on top of that, there's a lot of people that see that I have an embroidery machine, so people want to know, is embroidery something good to get into? Is that something that they should invest in? Is that something that they need in their shop? If you do not plan on offering embroidery, do not invest in an embroidery machine. I use a Ricoma MT1501. This is their single head commercial style machine. Now with that being said, there's nothing wrong with the EM1010, which is a slightly smaller machine, but it still does flat stitching, it does cap stitching. Very good machine. But people see that I have the MT1501, so they're like, oh, I want to buy the same one you got. There's a big price difference between the EM1010 and the MT1501, and I think there's probably more YouTube videos about the EM1010 than there is the 1501. Could be wrong, but I know there's a lot of people that have EM1010s from Ricoma and they make YouTube videos about them. So I always recommend, when you're buying equipment, buy the popular equipment. And the reason I say that is because if you need help or you need troubleshooting or if you want to learn something, it's always best to learn from somebody that already has it, so you have a better idea on how to do things. For example, if you're looking at vinyl cutters, I always say go with the Cameo or the Cricut. People are like, man, I don't want to buy those because they sell them at Walmart or they sell them over here, and I want an industry standard vinyl cutter, or I want a name brand vinyl cutter, or I want a bigger vinyl cutter that's not a major brand, but I'm getting more cutting space and a bigger cutter for a cheaper price. So people go that route. But you have to remember, there's a million different people on YouTube, from scrapbookers and hobbyists and crafters, that own Cameos and Cricuts, that are showing you all the tips and tricks and how to troubleshoot any issue with that cutter or how to use it, versus somebody that has a cutter that's made by like some other brand that you found on eBay, and it was like a $300 cutter, but it's a 36-inch cutter and it's bigger and better and faster. But there's not a lot of people that own it, so there's not a lot of information on YouTube about it. So it makes it very hard to learn or troubleshoot issues without having the luxury of going to YouTube and typing in, all right, I have the Cameo 4 cutter, I want to learn how to do this. You type that into YouTube and there's going to be 1,000 videos on that same subject. Same exact thing goes with buying an embroidery machine. Invest in the embroidery machine that a lot of people are using already, so that way you have a better idea on how it operates when you're doing your research, how to get started, how easy it is to use, how to thread the needles, what to do if you get birds nesting, how do you replace the bobbin. All of these things, when it comes to embroidery, is very beneficial to see in video. I reference videos all the time. Ricoma has 1 million videos on their page showing you how to do everything. There's clear certain errors, how to check your tension, all of that stuff. I reference videos all the time. So if you're looking into getting into embroidery and you're looking at Ricoma machines, there's so many people out there that have Ricoma machines that provide really good information and really good videos to help you get along. So if you're not planning on doing embroidery, don't even think about getting an embroidery machine. You can always outsource embroidery if you have, small jobs coming up, people want to get embroidery done. Easy call. Just outsource it, middleman the job, take a little bit off the top, get it to your customer. You do not have to invest in the embroidery machine if you don't have a lot of embroidery work coming in. Do not invest into sublimation or white toner or DTF or DTG printers if you don't plan on doing that. If you just want to operate with a heat press, operate with the heat press and order transfers from any company you want to. You don't even have to use the companies that I talk about. And if you don't plan on doing vinyl or using vinyl, don't invest in a vinyl cutter. But if you do invest in a vinyl cutter, invest in a vinyl cutter that has a lot of content out on the internet to help you learn and help you troubleshoot issues. And when it comes to buying vinyl, you could buy EconoTransfer. Like a lot of people see me use the puff vinyl and they think that stuff is cool. And I just use EconoTransfer's Econo Puff because it's easy to use. And let's say you just wanted to offer puff. Buy the vinyl cutter, buy a cheaper vinyl cutter, and buy a bunch of Econo Puff. And then send it through, cut it up, puff up every t-shirt you wanted to. You know what I mean? And if you wanted to do any research on anything that I use, transfers, equipment that I use, vinyl that I use, all of that is already in the description box. From shipping supplies to camera gear on how I make YouTube videos, every single thing you could think of that I use for my business or that you see on these YouTube videos, I already linked everything in the description box for you. Just go through, click the links. It doesn't mean you're committing to buy to anything. Just do some standard research. Click the links, read up on what I'm using, what I'm doing, check the prices, compare prices to Amazon versus the links. Do all that stuff. You don't have to buy through my links, but I'm put them there so you can do your own research, all right? Hopefully this helps somebody out. If you got any questions, leave it in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, Big Brando TV. Catch you guys on the next one, man.